Alright guys, so today we're going to make a simple and foolproof shoyu ramen from scratch. Starting off with an umami-packed Japanese style chicken broth, then we're going to go on to an incredibly velvety braised chashu pork, finishing off with some quick and easy soft boiled ramen eggs and a simple infused aroma oil. Let's get started. So once again, we're going to begin with the base of our ramen, which is going to be the chicken broth. So for about 2 medium to large servings, you'll need half a carrot, half a yellow onion, and a bunch of scallions or green onions.
Help me! Help me!
You'll also need about 6 to 9 crushed garlic cloves, depending on how garlicky you want your soup to be. Next, you'll need a tablespoon of fresh ginger, but I'm going to use this freeze-dried version. Next, you'll need 4 to 5 chicken wings, as well as the back of a chicken carcass, which can be found for super cheap, like $1 for a pack of 4 at any Asian supermarket. And finally, to give our ramen broth, that signature umami and savory flavor, we'll need some katsuobushi, which is basically a dried fish flake powder, some dried kombu, which is a dried seaweed, and also some dried shiitake mushrooms. Again, all of these can be found at your local Asian grocery store. I should do commercials. I have a commercial voice. We're going to begin by frying our chicken wings, garlic, yellow onion, and carrot over high heat until a nice fond develops at the bottom of the pan and everything is browned evenly. Use a larger surface pan than I did because that's going to give you more browning, which means deeper flavors later on. Next, fill it up with water before adding in your dried kombu, your mushrooms, green onions, and ginger, as well as your carcass, and then bring it all to a simmer, making sure to scrape the bottom of the pan to release all that fond. And finally, add your katsuobushi and let everything simmer for at least 2 hours. Make sure you have a sieve on hand just to strain out any of those impurities. Now we can make our chashu pork. So Japanese chashu begins with a boneless fatty pork belly. You can leave the rind on because braising it will break it down anyway. To begin, sear your pork belly over high heat for about 1 to 2 minutes on each side. Once each side is evenly browned, take it off the heat. Next, chop your pork into smaller pieces if needed before making your braising marinade. In a small saucepan, add 2 parts soy sauce and midden or rice vinegar to 1 part sugar, a few cloves of garlic, some green onions, and fresh ginger. Top it off with sake if you have it, or if not, just use water like I'm using here. Now bring it to a rapid simmer and let your pork braise for about 1.5 hours, turning it every 30 minutes or so. Now our last 2 steps before we can serve our ramen is making our soft boiled eggs and our infused aroma oil. So we're going to marinate our ramen eggs in 2 parts soy sauce to 1 part midden. Now boil them for anywhere between 6.5 to 7 minutes depending on how runny you want your yolks. Rinse them under cold water, then peel them before leaving them to marinate for at least half an hour. Now finally, for our infused aroma oil, just get some roughly chopped green onions and whole garlic cloves and fry them on a medium heat with some neutral flavored oil for about 10 minutes or until everything is nice and browned. Then strain it out and you'll be left with a beautiful flavored oil that you can use in almost any recipe. So after about 3 hours, I was left with this beautiful amber colored broth. As you can see, it has a pretty decent fat content, but it's still relatively light. Strain it out and set it aside. As for our chashu pork, after 1.5 hours, remove from the heat and cut into 1/4-inch slices. You can also reuse the braising liquid as a marinade for other meats or as a teriyaki sauce. To assemble this bowl of ramen, we're going to begin with the tare or the seasoning base. This is just 1 tablespoon of dark soy sauce and 1 drop of midden. Next, add a tablespoon of your infused aroma oil and a handful of your green onions. Then, add in your chicken broth. By adding the broth last, you're going to get more even distribution of the oil, which is going to end up coating each and every ramen noodle, adding an intense flavor while also giving an insulating effect and keeping everything nice and hot. Finally, mix in your cooked ramen noodles, add your toppings, and dig in. And finally, our infused aroma oils. Just get some roughly chopped green peppers, onions, and then some onions. God damn.